This is Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good
it's
afternoon.
Peg and Pete.
Yes, it is. We
with
are
Business Talk.
Yes, we love coming here every Saturday with you.
We do.
We do. We're having fun today.
Yes, we are.
We've the world is a great place, and it's a lot about gratitude. This is a
Yes.
show of gratitude.
Are you expressing some great gratitude right now?
Absolutely.
Gratefulness here,
Gratefulness
Peg, or what,
all over
for
the
what?
place.
Give me your top two.
Well, as Pete and I, right before we went on the air, we were talking about Pete goes, and you were being a little sarcastic, but not really,
No.
when you said, oh my gosh, if you're not growing in this environment, you should be shot.
Yeah. And, yeah.
I mean, things are going so well. And it's really neat because I got to talk to someone the other
Joseph
day.
Stalin, they used to do that kind of thing. Hey,
Yeah,
your
we
business is growing too slow. Boom.
We don't want to. We don't want to shoot you. But it just speaks to the good things that are
Oh,
happening.
my goodness. Yeah.
And
right,
and
right.
with that, Pete, Pete and I are business coaches, and we start with good news.
We do, yeah. Because,
that's what you said.
If you turn the TV on, there's all kinds of bad stuff showing, but objectively, if you look at what's going on, I'll just start with a couple
Pete,
of
before you
things.
start,
Oh my
this
gosh.
is why you said, why would you start like that?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Because I'm looking down, and what Pete does as our research director for our radio show
Right.
is you do spend a lot of time like researching articles, you research topics. So our topics each week are prone to what's hit hot right now.
Yeah, what's going on with our
And so
clients
I
and our businesses, right?
Right,
Sure.
Pete, and I look at all these articles. This is like we can't tell you all the good news.
Oh, we can't.
This would be
yeah,
an entire
there's too
show.
much. Right.
That is so
Right.
neat.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's awesome. And it depends. Now, one of the things that we do is remember your reticular activating system.
And tell me what that is.
We have a show, I think, with that on there.
We do.
Whatever you put your attention, energy, and focus on, you tend to get more of.
Mm-hmm.
And if we focus on some of the good things that are happening and happening in the economy at large, the country at large, and our own business, we're more likely to get more of those things than if we're worrying about, what could go wrong. Well, we do need to be prepared, right? I was a Boy Scout a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to proactively work on where we want to be. And that's why we do the good news, is we want people to be focusing on, oh, my gosh, there are opportunities abound. We got to go leverage some of those things.
Right. We want to talk about what we're going to get, not what is going wrong.
Right. Well, if you operate from a basis of fear, you're going to tend to attract those kind of things. If you operate from a basis of confidence, you'll tend to attract better things.
Excellent. Okay,
Right?
so give us some good news.
So here we go. I'm just going to whip through these because, some of these are very long. And a lot of this is out of the Wall Street Journal. Consumer spending is bustling and likely propelling strong overall economic growth. Retail sales went up 0.5% in June from the prior month, which is
That's
a
good
6% rate. May's already strong consumer spending was raised to 1.3% from 0.8%. In other words, the economists went back and adjusted the 0.8% growth rate that they estimated in May up to 1.3. It was actually lower in the previous reported figures. It was actually 1.3%, which is really huge.
Yes.
This separate article, survey, jobless rate hits a 50-year low. Economists expect the U.S. unemployment rate to go even lower over the next year, reaching levels not seen in 50 years.
Wow, that is good news. Okay.
And that's a percentage. It doesn't matter how many people are here. It's a percentage. So, it's amazing. Now, this is kind of interesting because we have a client that does work for Boeing. So the aerospace business is very good. The economy across the world, the United States is doing great. Some other places not quite as great, but they're still growing, Europe and others. Boeing and Airbus are swamped with orders for new jets. Boeing is shipping 15 jets a week. By next year, they'll get to 17 a week. 800 planes a year.
Wow.
It's the first time they've ever gotten that far. And it's interesting because Airbus is their major competitor. They're a European-based group, and they're competing with each other. Airbus has missed a number of delivery deadlines, forcing airline customers to find alternatives, change routes, cancel flights. It's delivered fewer planes than it did by this time last year, which is kind of scary for them. Boeing hasn't missed any deadlines, and
Wow.
they're spitting out 15 of these gigantic airliners every week.
Wow,
3
that
per
speaks
day.
a lot to them.
Holy cow.
Their systems have to be tight. Their culture
Oh, my
has to be
gosh.
tight. Their
Yeah.
vision has to be tight.
Absolutely, because it's a huge undertaking. And the interesting thing here is Boeing, the number one plane maker by deliveries, and number two Airbus are on track to deliver more than 1,600 planes in total, double the figure produced in 2000. So 16 years ago, it was half that.
You know what's interesting, Pete, as you're talking about this growth, and as business coaches, and again, this is Peg and Pete with Business Talking, a lot of times when we're brought in, it's because we're growing. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's two reasons. Number one, we want to grow faster or more.
Sure.
Number two is we're growing so fast that we need to get our controls
Get control of it.
and our
Yeah.
systems,
Yeah.
making sure that we have consistent delivery of our product. And I just, when we hear this amount of growth and consistency and meeting deadlines, that is a feat.
Amazing companies do things
Amazing.
like that. They do what they say they're going to do as a company. We talk about it a lot within our teams. Do what you say you're going to do. As a company, when the company does that, it helps their stock value. It helps their company value. It helps their customers rely on them so they get more customers. You know what I mean? It's the same idea.
I like that. And it's a good question. And like listening to the show, how often are you doing what you say you're going to do and meeting those parameters that you set out?
The other interesting thing is, and just thinking about the thing we've been talking about here is, in 2000, 2.7 billion people flew, passengers, right, that year. This year, it'll be 4.4 billion people.
Wow.
Passengers. So it could be one person 100 times, right?
Right.
But it's almost doubled in
That's
8
amazing.
years.
That's
it is amazing.
And
the other thing, we're talking about these tariffs and all this stuff, and we're free trade. I mean, we're free trade people. We think it's going to lift everybody's boat if we trade freely with each other.
Correct.
It will help both
The economy.
countries if we trade, and I do the things I'm best at, you do the things you're best at, and we trade with each other. This is interesting. It was in an article about Ford sales sliding in China because China's slowing down a little bit. But we shipped 65,000 Lincoln Continentals to China last year.
Oh, we did.
Along with nearly 19,000 Explorer sport utility vehicles like yours.
Oh, there we
Isn't
have
that
it.
cool?
Oh, that's interesting.
It's kind of funny.
That is good.
Yeah.
So you're looking through your stack.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So Gallup poll found that 67% of Americans believe that now is a good time to find a great job. 57% of Americans say things are going very well in the United States. And 71%, blah, blah, blah.
I wonder, wait, 57% of Americans say that it's good in the United States? Like, I would think, why only 57%?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Because it should be higher than that,
You
for
would
my
think.
goodness sakes. I wonder what...
But it's going up.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
it's kind of interesting.
But here's a statistic that I want to tell our listeners, though, Pete. So when asked a Gallup poll question, 57% say things are going well. There is a study done that was in the Wall Street Journal that if you look at our natural thoughts, for Americans, is it 70 or 75% of our
in
thoughts
that ballpark, yeah.
are automatically negative? So we go to the
Isn't that
negative
funny?
first. So I guess that's what people
Right,
are
it's kinda
thinking.
natural.
It's a natural.
54% of Americans say the economy is good or excellent. That's the highest percentage in 10 years. And it's only 54%.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the highest in 10 years,
Yeah.
you know? So it's
Okay.
kind of
There we go.
It's kind of interesting. Orders for cargo planes soar. The global fleet of air freight craft is expected to grow 70% in the next 20 years.
Wow.
So this is a good sign of trade. We're trading like crazy with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And manufacturing is doing really well. So anyway, there's all kinds of really interesting things going on.
That is good news.
Right?
Well, good. Okay. Well, very good. Pete, A+ on your good news segment.
Holy cow. We had to cut a whole bunch of it out, yeah?
I know we did.
But that's okay.
Just so we can get to the bulk of it. So our radio show today, and we have these shows every week, and the goal is for you, our listeners, to walk away with something that you can apply to help
Right.
you. So our goal is, and this is our vision, Pete and I own a firm. We have Michelle and Don as our coaches. So there's 4 coaches here locally. I'm in Columbus. And our goal is to work with individuals and teams and businesses
Right.
to help you get to that next level, whatever that next level means for you.
And we do business coaching, which from our point of view is we're helping the entire business to grow as well as we can, control growth, profitable growth, and growth that is good for your employees and your employees' families. And then also we do executive coaching with larger companies.
So with that said, our topic today, so what we do is we pick a topic.
Right.
And the goal again is to give you case studies and to tell you examples of what, because Pete and Michelle and Don and I, we work with, I don't know, about 40 different companies.
Right.
About 40 different companies. And then we work with their teams as well. And we want to tell you what we're working on so that it's real time.
Yeah.
So our topic today
are 3 keys to a great team, to a great company.
To a great company.
And we're going to talk about your vision and how you create goals and a plan from that vision, and then also your team and your culture. And then how do we put it into place? How do we execute? How do we get things done? And how do we motivate and keep people focused on our great vision and working within our great culture and actually accomplish great things for our employees, our families, everybody that we do business with.
So when we return from the break, we're going to dive into each one of those areas.
Correct.
And then give you some ideas on what you can do to improve.
Right.
The keys to your team and operation.
Right.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
All right, we're talking today about 3 keys to a great company, and the first one is vision. The 3 total are your vision and your goals, creating goals from that vision.
Right.
Also, your team and your culture, and then the actual execution. How do we actually get things done in the business?
So when we walk into a company, we start at different places with each company. One company might be saying, hey, I want to increase my cash flow because right now I'm in a cash crunch.
Right.
And generally everybody wants to increase their profit. That's the overriding. But sometimes you start with their team. Sometimes you start with their vision. We start at different places depending on where your business is. But regardless, as we go through these 3 keys, right, we're going to touch upon one of these keys at some point during our coaching.
Yeah. And we've started a lot of new clients. We're growing like our clients are. And we started a lot of new clients in the last few weeks. And we thought we could give you some specific examples of some of these things as we go along. For example, we had one where it's a long-standing company that's a service business. They create products for other companies, so it's business to business. Mm-hmm. And they need to do some quick things to increase sales.
Right. So one of the things that we did, and again, now this is the first key is vision, but one of the things that I'm getting into the plan, the key 3 is we ended up looking at where they are right now. And figuring out, okay, we needed to grow that quickly. What is low-hanging fruit? And so often,
couple quick things that we can do to improve cash flow.
And a lot of times, it's not that you need to do something different. It's that you know what to do. You just need to do it. So often, you just need to do it.
That's one of the reasons you have a coach, right?
Right. Because
whether it's sports or fitness or your business, is you know how to get in shape. A lot of times, we just don't do enough exercise.
Right, exactly.
Or do it the right way. The other thing with this company is that you worked on some things very quickly. We went through the financials quickly and identified a few things that they could work on, and they immediately got the team involved, which was really good, on working on some of these things.
And saw results within 30 days.
Yeah, which is
within
great.
30 days, we saw results. So, I mean, and sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
So let's talk about, Pete, let's go back.
Well, the other thing is that with that same company, we got, it's multi-generational, so we got the founder involved with creating the vision with the person who's running the business now, the next generation, together, and started talking to about how we're going to do the transition.
Well, that's a good point. So as we're looking at the first key, right?
Vision.
Which is vision to a great company. It's the direction.
Yeah.
It is the direction. And it was interesting because in this case, we were talking to this leader and we were saying, here's the thing, as a leader, you need to inspire. You need to get your team so excited about what's about to happen that they can't wait to do it with you. Because it's not about you, it's about all of you. And how are you going to do that? And what is the message that you're going to say?
And she actually did have a team meeting just the other day, brought them all together and talked to them about where things are headed, right?
Right, because they're this is our vision, this is our direction. Mm-hmm. And one thing we encourage, and I'm talking with all of our clients here, not just this one, is quarterly themes are a really, or even an annual theme, is a really great way of communicating your vision. So let me give you examples of quarterly themes to communicate vision. One is, like in this case, growth. It's all about growth. We've had system.
Or marketing. We've done that.
We've done marketing. Right. Yeah, thank you. That's been a quarterly theme. Hey, we're going to concentrate. Another one, we had a company talk about systems. we're digging in. We called it digging in, and giving everybody like a shovel, like a little makeup shovel to say, okay, our theme is we're digging in to figure out, to make sure that as we grow, our systems are growing with us. And so as you're looking at your vision and you're communicating that, so a couple things under vision. Number one is a quarterly theme, right?
Right. And there's a great book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. It's a few years old, but it's an excellent book, and it's a real quick read. I know most of you business owners, you have very little time, very little discretionary time. That is one of those books where you could open up to one chapter and just read 10 pages and get something you can use immediately.
Well, and he also wrote a second book after that called Scaling Up.
Right.
So I think either one of those books, Vern Harnish is the author.
Right. Absolutely
wonderful books. And Pete, to your point, so when looking at your vision, there's creating it. How do you create it? So this is a good question. So you're sitting there going, well, I sort of have a vision, but how do you, when we're coaching our companies, how do we get to the point where we're helping them solidify that?
Right. The other thing you need to consider when you're thinking about your vision, and particularly when we're in this rapid growth environment, and let's say 5 years from now, I'm going to be double or triple in sales, which is not crazy at all. It's very logical based on what things are doing right now, is what about yourself and your key members of your team? What do you need to become? Or who do you need to become yourself? And what do you need to learn to be able to run a company that's 20 million in sales instead of 5?
Well, that's a great, so I guess one of the things to answer the question we asked is, how do you figure out your vision? I liked what you just said, is figure out where you're going to go. Like, just sit down and ask yourself the question. One of the things we've done with companies that has really been, I think, empowering is, first of all, don't put a limit on yourself, because you're going to get in your own way.
And recognize that doubling your company, your sales volume, doesn't mean you're going to work twice as much. You're not going to do that. Right?
Absolutely.
You're going to become an amazing delegator and a
great leader,
gatherer of people, and a leader, right? Somebody who hires very well.
Pete, that's exactly it. And that's why one of the things as coaches, when we come in, part of our job is to help you grow. And if you don't have an outside influence or other people helping you, and you're trying to do it on your own, you know what? You're being short-sighted.
You'll grow slower.
You're going to grow slower.
Right.
When you bring in outside people, whether it's Pete and I or another source, you're going to grow faster.
Right.
And so you have to learn more before you earn more. And how much more what do you need to learn in order to grow? That's a great question. Yeah. So setting your vision. So here's an example.
So that could be homework. For
there
you
folks,
go. Right.
So setting your vision. So one of the things is, let's say you're a $5 million company or $2 million, whatever, and you're doubling it. So that makes you a $4 or a $10 million company. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're going to do that in
3 years.
I was going to say three to 4 years from here. Back then, that's our vision. But then you got to figure out why. So it was really interesting. I was working with a team, and this team that you were talking about, Pete and I were working with them, and we were talking about growing, right? And in this case, they were going to grow. It wasn't ridiculous growth. I think it's 7% their first year. So it wasn't like crazy. It was just they felt like that they wanted something achievable, and usually we like to go, up 10% plus.
But they had not been growing for several years.
Exactly.
That's the other part of the background is they have not been
so
growing.
True. And so as we were talking to some of the team members in the leadership teams, they said, one of the things, Peg and Pete, that we need to communicate is why. Why grow?
Right.
And it was it was one of the best questions from a team member, because we assume people know why we want to grow. So as you're looking at your company, have you communicated why? Why is it we need to grow?
Well, and as an employee, we're spilling into the team part a little bit, but you also need to look at it from the team member's point of view. What's in it for them? And she actually presented why it's good for them. She changed some things and created an incentive program, right?
Well, absolutely. And then explained why. And part of the vision that you're setting is about educating. So not only where are we going, but why? Why are we going to get there? What are we going to get excited about, so that you are inspiring your team to want to follow this vision,
right,
and get them excited? Because our next step, which we'll do next, is all about team and culture.
Right.
But first, you got to set the vision. And here's an idea of how to numerically set your vision, Pete.
Okay.
That you and I do is, I want you to speak to what we've done for other companies when we say, okay, you want to grow there. How? Like with the org charts. Explain how we do that.
with as far as on the people side of things.
The org chart. So we put out a vision.
we number one, we want to make sure you know who's in charge of what departments, areas, and that kind of thing. Get it down on paper. And then also say, okay, in 5 years, we're going to have more than doubled in size. Who needs to be in what role at that point? And a lot of times when we have somewhat smaller businesses, the business owner and their partner, they're in all the boxes, right? And sometimes they have 3 different roles that they're in. And we need to figure out, okay, which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? Which ones do you tolerate? And we need to get you out of the things that you don't like to do.
Right.
Because you're the boss. You get to... And you can almost always find someone who loves doing some things that you don't like. We're not all wired the same thing.
Right,
thank
exactly.
God.
And that's a good point, because we were meeting with one client, Pete and I. You were in this session too with me when we were meeting with this one client who, she doesn't want to do this one activity that's high value. It's a sales activity.
Okay, so it's really important.
It's really important, and she's good at it. She doesn't like it.
She doesn't like it.
She's
okay.
like, I don't want to do
Is
this
she an
anymore.
owner?
Yeah, she's the owner.
Okay.
She goes, I don't want to do it anymore.
Great.
And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to.
Okay.
That's why you hire people.
That's why we hire people, right? Different from ourselves. Somebody that would actually enjoy that. Holy cow.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And when it can get exhausting if you're doing things that you don't want to do. So one of the things is to really think of where you're going. So looking at your vision, let's say you're going to be a $5 million company in the future. Then what does your org chart look like?
Right.
And what
roles will you play in that future org chart? That's one of the most critical things. And as the boss, you get to decide. Well, I want to stay in sales. We have a gentleman down in Dallas who loves to sell, and he's hired some folks, and now he's going to have another hiring wave. He's got a couple more folks he's got to hire because he has grown a lot.
Right.
But he still loves to sell, and really, that's where he should be, because he likes it, and he's very good at it. And it keeps him in touch with his team.
And it was interesting because I was talking to another business owner, Pete, and we were talking about growth, and it was interesting because some of his team members gave him feedback, and they said, listen, you're in this role. I'm going to call it a manager role. Okay. And you're stopping us from growing because you won't let go of this role, and you need to. Yeah. Because for us to grow,
they're ready to go.
You're a bottleneck for us because you're too busy and you're delaying this. So you have to be conscious of that.
And I'll say something there about this business owner has created a culture where people can be honest with him, which is really good.
Absolutely. And here was the thing: as our coaching call is, I said, now it's your opportunity to listen and do something. And listening isn't just saying, I hear you. Listening is making a change because he's right.
That's excellent.
Because how many buckets are you in that you need to not be in order to grow?
So to kind of summarize this vision thing, we want folks to be thinking about where is the company going? Where am I taking this ship? And what does it mean for me personally as a business owner, or maybe the partners? And then what does it mean to our team members? And get clear on that, and then be able to communicate it to everybody and get it very clear. What does it mean to the individuals in the company as we grow? This is what's going to happen.
Yes,
with all of us.
The communication is key, and the constant communication of the vision, not just saying it once. Oh, I told him last year what it was.
Right. That's why the power of this quarterly theme idea is really strong. And again, that was out of the Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. And he's got some really good tips in there about how to create it and how to communicate it and how to get folks engaged.
Right, and make it fun along the way so that everybody on your team knows their vision when asked.
We're going to be here anyway. Might as well have fun, right?
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
We're talking today about 3 keys to a great company. So your vision and how you communicate that vision, your team and your culture, and then also how do you actually execute on some things.
So the first, right before the break, we were talking about vision and made that entire segment about that.
Right.
If you missed any of this, you can go to our website, which is takeactionbusinesscoaching.com. And you click on 98.9, you'll see a little logo up in the right-hand corner. You click that on, and then you'll see all of our shows.
Right.
So, a lot of times as our clients are working with us, we actually have them as homework go to the show to listen. Because before, in our first segment, we said, as you grow as a company, you must learn.
Oh, right. Exactly. You've got to grow yourself.
So listening to these shows
yes.
are part of your process of growing.
Right.
And you know what, Pete? It was interesting. Before we get into our next segment, I was listening. As we've been coaching people, and we coach a lot of people that tend to be high achievers. And when I talk about high achiever, they drive themselves. They're pretty hard on themselves. They're constantly looking at how to improve. And I've been thinking about what is it that gets in the way of these people. It's a certain type of personality. And I realize what it is that they don't slow down long enough to assess where they are, where they need to be, and sharpening their skills.
Oh, well, yeah, I can relate to that. If you're running all the time, you're working hard, and you're actually getting things done, right? These folks are highly productive generally. And you need to stop occasionally so that you can clear your head and think about, what have we accomplished in the last month or two? And what's in front of us now that wasn't there 2 months ago, or what opportunities are in front of us? And that's one of the reasons we go to conferences. We do it several times a year, a couple times a year to larger conferences.
Right.
And we're actually headed to Fiji and Australia for a conference.
Yes, and in the next week.
Yep.
Next week we're going to do that. And so I do want to tell you that I want you to slow down to create an assessment. What we see, some of the watch outs are, number one, you're not having enough meetings because you don't put the value in it, because you're not getting things done in your mind. Mm-hmm. So you're having a lack of meetings, so that's hurting communication. You're having a lack of investment in you, in your coaching and your learning and your growing, because you're moving too fast, because again, you're putting the priority on getting things done.
And stopping for a moment to get out of the business. And that's one of the reasons that conferences are so good, is that we're around people that are very successful and want to grow. And we're also listening to authors and speakers and people who have gotten amazing things done, listening to them. But we're also out of the business for a few days where we can actually think.
So as we're going into, so we said that this is the 3 keys to a great company. One was vision. The second we're going to get into is team and culture. I want to talk about that as it relates as a sort of a segue, Pete. So as you're looking at managers that are super successful, and I say super meaning they're driven and they're getting results, the other thing that you need to consider with your team and your culture as we're going into this to drive your vision is what we see most often is a lack of development of your team, because you don't see the value of slowing down and creating an investment of them learning something. Because, oh no, they have to work. Oh no, that takes them off the production line. Oh no, that, what you're concentrating on is, I'm losing those moments. It's short-sighted versus long-term.
Well, and I think what we would ask you to do is, if you're at home, take a blank sheet of paper and write down your values. If you're the business owner, what are your values?
That's great.
And we'd encourage you to think about continuous learning, and for yourself and your team would be an important value that would help your business a ton. In a lot of cases, really great employees love to learn, and if they're not learning in their jobs, they recognize that if I do the same job for 10 years in a row, the 11th, 12th, 13th year aren't really adding to my skill set. If I haven't changed anything, I need to be learning new things, maybe taking on some different responsibilities, brushing up on my skills. If they're not growing in their job, you're not going to keep them.
Well, that is exactly it. And team, looking at team culture as a second tier of great company is your values development. Is it learning? Because as much as we said in order to grow, it means what do you have to learn? Right. Your team's the same way. They have to grow.
Definitely. Right. The company's only going to grow as much as you and your team grow.
So what investment of time and resources and money? Now, Pete and I go into teams. So let's say you're sitting here listening going, I haven't had an alignment in a while. I haven't had...
What's an alignment mean?
Alignment is where we come in and we either take a half a day or a full day and work with your team to get on the same page. We do that through education, teaching them something.
Right.
We teach about them individually how to grow. We teach about how to be a better team member.
Team exercises.
And then we do team exercises where it allows all of us in a group setting
to work on some things.
To work on some things to figure out where we're going. And then
great teams work together very, very easily, and they communicate easily with each other.
It's getting everybody on the same page and creating that. If you have not had that done at least once a year. At least once a year, you need to call us at 614-306-7922. And sign up for your alignment with us. And I'm saying that strongly because the success of your company will absolutely grow when you do this. And even if you're in a large company, let's say, Peg and Pete, I have thousands of people. Right. We do departments.
Right.
It's a department thing too. Right. So you need to have that alignment. And it's really interesting because we're working with Amy, and we're creating her alignment. I haven't even told you this, and she had a great idea.
Is it September?
Yeah, in September.
Okay.
We're going to go down south with Amy, who's a great owner, and she's like, I think what I want to do is have a team alignment for a couple hours with my whole team.
Yep.
Then what I'm going to do is have you go into segments and like do an hour with customer service, do an hour with the leadership, with departments.
I like that.
Isn't that terrific?
A departmental alignment.
Yes.
Right.
I'm like, Amy,
because
that's brilliant.
they have goals and strategies and tactical things that they're doing that are different than the accounting department. And that's
right.
Great.
So we're gonna do an alignment. So it's like the whole team.
Interdepartmental. Yeah.
And then departmental, and then do some learning within that.
Sure.
So I just thought that was a great idea. So we're going to do that in September, which I think, and we've done that for our friends up in Michigan where we coach. It's sort of similar. So so you can do that. So looking at your team and your culture that's part of defining the culture. Those moments are defining it and holding people accountable to it. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Because if you set your vision, Pete, how are you going to get there with your team? Like, what are the expectations?
It's with your team, right.
What are the expectations?
And then because all that good news that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, the economy is really good. And it appears that it's going to be good for quite some time. So we need to figure out how do we motivate, how do we hang on to our employees? Because some of our clients are getting headhunters calling people, emailing and calling people at work, saying, hey, you can come over here for an extra X thousands and a signing bonus. Well, they're trying to pick off employees.
We were just with a team this past Monday, and it was the leadership team. So what we decided is this is a company of about 100 employees, and we were talking about every 6 months they get together and they align the leadership team. And what that looks like an agenda is, okay, what are our rules of behavior?
Right.
What is our culture? How well are we doing? Are we living up to our culture? What do we have to improve? How can we work as a team, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And one of the things I thought, again, another team member, we work with some really brilliant people, I said, guys, we've done this. We did it 6 months ago. Now we did it now.
Right.
How often should we be having these meetings, and what should we change? And the one gentleman raised his hand and he said, if we are shifting our culture, which we're in the midst of it, we should be visiting this every quarter.
More often. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You are right.
Right.
Every quarter we should be adjusting, having these conversations and seeing how we're doing to make sure we live up to it. And then, Pete, what was interesting, and I want your answer, is as you're shifting a culture and we define it, one of the things that I see, I don't know if you have a different answer than me, but that really stops the team and the culture from executing the vision is number one, it's defining the expectations, right?
Yep.
But number two, critical, is the accountability to it.
Oh, you have to be willing to hold people accountable to your new path, your new definition of your culture. Otherwise, people will pick that up in a second, and they'll know that you're not serious.
And then what's created is a thing called unwritten ground rules. Mm-hmm. So if you decide to define your culture, which we help you do, and you do it with your team,
right? And
then your goal is to hold them accountable. Let's say you don't hold them accountable and you don't call it tight. Yeah. I like saying call it tight.
Yeah. You start making excuses, or give this person a pass, and that person is held accountable, but the other one's not.
So what we want to do is call it tight, meaning holding them accountable. If you don't, unwritten ground rules are created. So here's one. It's okay to treat somebody with disrespect because, your rule is we're going to treat each other the way they want to be treated, and we're going to respect them and approach them in a way that is going to get the best result. Well, if you allow some bad behavior, that becomes an unwritten rule that, well, not always.
And you as the leader, I'm thinking of your sports analogy here, the calling it tight as a basketball game. If you're the referee, you're the one that is responsible for the level of
that's a good one.
Violence happening on the basketball field or basketball court,
or soccer field or football field.
Violence. We've seen it before at games that aren't called that way. An elbow happens, and then another harder elbow happens, and pretty soon somebody's
tripping someone, pulling.
It gets worse, hair. Right? It progresses. You can see it on the court, right? It happens within minutes. It gets worse and worse. And if you keep it under control, because you're the leader, you decide what you're going to allow and what you're not going to allow every day.
And the team follows it.
Absolutely.
And the team will follow
it. You're the boss, man.
And so looking at your culture, looking at your team, what is it and where does it need to improve? That's a good homework assignment.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
We've been talking about 3 keys to a great company, and number 1 was vision and how you communicate that vision. Number 2 was your team and your culture.
Right.
And number 3 is about how do we execute? How do we actually get things done?
Execution.
Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly.
So I want to tell a story on this.
Great.
So
it's story time.
It's
Alan.
Story time. Everybody sit back and
producer,
listen.
He's leaning back in his chair.
And I love our stories because this is real life. This isn't stuff we're making up.
This is a real story time.
These are all
it's
real
not
stories.
Made up stuff.
So one of the things that, again, I'm going to go back to super achievers. They like to get a lot of things done. So you're that person that's writing a whole bunch of tasks and checking it off. And one of the things that we see is a lack of focus. And that lack of focus, what happens is things don't move as quick and they don't get completed. And so what I'm working with this one company, and they're achievers, don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but what's happening is they're going real wide with everything, meaning lots of things on their plate. So I went in and I was talking to them. It's a fairly large company, and I'm just working with one department, not necessarily the whole company in this case. Right. And so I said, you know what I'm seeing is whenever I see you, you're exhausted. Like you are going from one thing to another, to another, to another.
Right.
You are lacking focus and communication of your quarterly 90-day plan.
Well, in most cases, people don't have a 90-day plan.
That's exactly it. So we sat down, and that department head. We sat down with the department head, and then they had like department managers under them. And I said, you know what? This is what everybody's doing. They're just going nuts. They're just going from one task to another. They're running. Right. So what we did, Pete, it was so inspiring. And this was just this week. Okay. I mean, this is just a real live this week. I said, what we're going to do is we're going to put together a fairly, and I did this quickly. I mean, because, over an hour and a half, because you could spend more time than that. Yeah. I said, we're going to put down a 90-day plan. And so what we did is we did a break.
And they'd never done one before?
No.
Okay.
Never had done one before. Okay. So it was really interesting. So I started with the managers, and I said that the department head, the guy that's over all of them, we're doing his next week. I said, really, ideally, you want the department head to share his 90-day plan or hers, and then for the other people to feed up into that. Right. So what we did is it was really interesting. So this is what you can do at home is as you're looking at what you want to accomplish, write down all the things, like do a brain dump of all the things you want to do.
All the things you could do. Right?
Yes, exactly. Right. And I labeled them as goals. Some of them tend to be tasks versus goals, but write them all down. Yeah. So we had them write them all down. And then we go through a force matrix process that Pete and Michelle and Don and I take you through.
So you use it to prioritize those goals.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was interesting because some of the one person who I saw was very exhausted, the plate was really full. Like sometimes he's missing some things. Yep. And you can see that. He had 15 goals.
15 goals. Okay.
15 goals. Yeah. And the other person had 6. And I said, okay, now this is before prioritizing. Right. I said, so let me ask you guys this. How many do you think you should have?
What did they say?
5. And I said, okay, so no.
Maybe 3.
Yes, maybe 3. I said, so that's your problem.
Now we know in order to run the business, you may have to do multiple things. So that's why it's even more important when you're thinking about a quarterly plan to say, well, I've only got a certain number of discretionary hours every week where I could work on a project or a longer term goal or improve a process or whatever it happens to be. I've got to spend X hours a week running things, actually accomplishing what my clients and customers need or my employees need. And that's why, one of the reasons why you've got to figure out, well, what is it? Is it 10 hours? Is it 20 hours? How many hours a week do I have? And then what are the top of those 15? What are the top 2 or 3 or 4 even?
Well, and I love that you just said that because that's what I told them because they started getting a little uncomfortable saying, well, I need to get all this done. I said, that doesn't mean you're not going to do a task that's not related to your goal. I mean, you got to get things done.
Yeah, you have to answer the phone when it rings.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, if you have to do something that's not on your 90-day plan. But that is, it's about focus and communication. So once we completed that, I said, we're going to make a list of what you're not going to do.
That sometimes is the most stress-relieving thing ever if a client and their team can look at the board and say, here's 10 things, guys, we're not touching until October 1st.
That's exactly it.
Leave it alone and work on these 3 or 4 and do your regular job.
Right.
Don't worry about that stuff in the lower corner we call the parking lot
Yes.
We've all agreed we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to focus on this.
And I like what you just said, Pete, when you said it's like a relief. Because,
oh, my goodness.
And then I said, now guess what you get to do? You're going to get with your boss. So this is the manager of the department. And, well, they're managers too. I guess director would be a good. They're going to get with the director. And then they're going to say, this is what we've agreed not to work on. And this is what our focus is. Is this aligned? You
get a team all focused on a small number of very important things. Holy cow, look out.
It'll be unbelievable. Yeah. Right. It'll be inspiring. Mm-hmm. And alignment, meaning we've all agreed.
Well, and what happens is, and we talk a lot about positive reinforcement. When you've got a cohesive team that understands the goal and what needs to get done to get the goal done, and they work together towards it, 2 things, maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 things, and they actually get 2 of the 3 done well in a quarter, and then they do it again the following quarter, it feels better to them than trying to move 15 things forward 10%.
Right.
Because you don't feel you've accomplished anything if you get one goal 10% done.
Right, exactly.
You really haven't gotten anything done.
Well, and I love that you said that because it does make them feel better. And it's also like that communication, like this is what we're doing.
Right.
Because so often, like
success leads to more success.
And when I talk to each one, because we coach them as an executive coaching, one of the things I'm hearing is, well, I don't know what he's working on. Well, when we meet, we're going to pull out our plan and say, what's our progress on this agreed plan?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be super complicated, this plan. Some of these plans, when you get really analytical, you're like,
oh, yeah.
You're making it really difficult.
Yeah. We're going to get things done.
We want simple. Right. Simple with deadlines and actions. And then it was interesting describing a goal, strategy, and an action, too, to them.
Okay. So that they got
an
understanding of what the difference is.
And so for our listeners, it's amazing when I ask, would it be helpful if I told you the difference between a goal, strategy, and action? And almost everybody goes, yeah. Okay. I get that confused. So, Pete, you are the best at describing to our listeners. And again, this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk. We're coaches. We do this for a living. We go in and do plans. And so tell them how we describe, because I use your example all the time.
So yeah, this is an easy example. If you're, let's pretend it's World War II, right? And we've got an island in the Pacific that is held by the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take this island. So the goal is to retake ownership of the island, to be in charge of it, right?
By a certain time.
That's our goal. Yeah, let's say it's 3 months from now. Boom.
Okay.
We're gonna have that island. The enemy is going to be subdued or shipped off somewhere or whatever. But we're going to be in charge, and everything's going to be safe.
Right.
Right. So that's the goal. We need to communicate that to everybody, right? And then we also need to figure out what are some strategies. So if it's an island surrounded by water, some things you could do. You could fly some planes over there and drop a bomb or 2, right?
Right. So that's the strategy would be dropping some bomb, taking flight.
Another strategy could be, if you got ships off the coast, you could lob a few shells from the ship, right?
That's another strategy.
Another one could be landing some guys, some troops on a certain beach or a certain pile of rocks to go fight, right? That's a totally separate strategy. So you got 3 separate strategies.
Wait, we have to add in one because I thought this was funny when we were talking to a team.
Yeah.
And it was the best. Somebody called up and said, couldn't you just put a strategy as just call them up and buy it from them?
I like that strategy.
Isn't there like a nonviolent way?
There's a capitalist in the crowd.
Yes,
That's fantastic.
I loved it. I was like,
yes.
Yeah, that is a strategy.
Actually, what would it take for us to purchase this island?
Yes. Why can't we just purchase it? Save lives. So I thought that was great. I forget who said that.
Yeah, we're just using this example because it's real easy to picture. You've got an Air Force, you've got an Army, and you got a Navy, and all 3 of them have their own strategies, right? And you can imagine, like D-Day, there were 5,000 ships that were going to land people.
Right.
There's a lot of details that need to go within each strategy.
Which would be called?
Hundreds and thousands of action steps, right? Actions, right? A lot of times we want to just jump and start doing something.
Right.
Well, let's go. Let's charge. Let's charge up the hill. Well, we haven't planned exactly what we're going to do when we get there.
Yeah,
or how much food we need to take. Or,
right.
You got to plan, right?
So the goal would be like the what. The strategy would be maybe the how.
High level tactics we're going to use, and then the specifics are
how.
Who's going to go? How many people? What do they need to take? How do we need to support them? All those kind of things. And your business is identical to that.
Well,
in a lot of cases, we have larger businesses that have multiple marketing strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're independent of each other. And they all are important if you're measuring well. And you've got to figure out, well, which things are working and make sure you support the ones that are working.
So if you look at our 3 keys to a great company, we talked about vision.
Right.
Then we talked about team and culture. And then now we've talked about quarterly focus and really talking really in depth about a 90-day plan. One thing you could do is if you're interested in getting your team to have a 90-day plan, and we do this often,
right,
is bring us in and we'll create it.
Yeah,
so you
we
can
can
give
do
us
it
a call.
in your
or
company.
You either can go to our website, takeactionbusinesscoaching.com, and there's a little form you can fill out that
or
we can contact
give us a call at 614-306-7922. We'll set up a time to talk over the phone for just 15 minutes or so and see if a more in-depth meeting would make sense.
Or we also hold a quarterly 90-day plan, every quarter, of course, every 90 days.
Oddly enough, 4 times a year.
Yes.
For you math
and it's right
folks
in Columbus. It's in Grandview, and we do have people who come in from out of town, so it's not crazy if you have to drive like a few hours.
From the state up north, a lot of them.
Yes, we do. We have a lot.
We
of
allow
state
that,
up north.
of course, not during football season.
So our next one is September 14th, and it's a 90-day plan. And you want to describe a little bit about what to expect in it?
What you'll have, I like to describe the end. What you'll have at the end is a warm glow about yourself and your team. And you'll have a plan that you developed yourself for what your business is going to accomplish in the next 3 months.
And you're with about 30 other people in a room.
30 to 50.
Yeah, 30 to 50, depending on
right.
depending on the 90-day plan. You can bring your team members, which is really inspiring.
Or your business partner, those
or
kind
your
of
general
things.
manager or your managers.
Absolutely. Right.
We do a little learning at the beginning, and so again, it starts at between 8 and 8:30. You get there for networking.
We're
starts
done
at
around
8:30.
3 to 3:30.
Yeah, that's a good ending. And if you are interested in attending this, we will give a free segment or a free, let's say, session for you to attend.
Right.
And that's a $300 value. If you call us, Pete, let's have them call you.
614-306-7922, and we'll get you set up. Again, it's September 14th. It's on a Friday, and it's 8 to 3:30, 3 to 3:30. And give us a call, 614-306-7922.
You will have some pre-work that we'll give you.
Uh-oh.
But at the end of the day, it's the way to really accomplish our third key to a great company.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.